The British glass industry warns it is under threat after the steel crisis. I'm going to read into this more from the iPaper, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the iPaper with a headline that the British glass industry warns it is under threat after the steel crisis, and ministers are facing calls to do more to help energy-intensive manufacturing in the UK. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, hit that like button, share us across social media so others are notified of this video. So guys, if for those who aren't been aware, there's obviously been the crisis in the British steel industry, and the government had partially nationalised British Steel, the British Steel in Scunthorpe, to try and save the plant for the vital needs of those blast furnaces that will obviously produce massive amounts of steel, British-made steel, because obviously it's an important industry for the UK as a whole. Although for some reason we're not looking at this in the same way as Grangemouth or Port Talbot, but that's another conversation for another day, and rightfully so. Those conversations should be brought up why they're being treated differently. But just on this, but in related to that, obviously the glass industry is obviously facing threats as well. Many industries have been facing threats, and we know that the Trump tariffs that have been imposed around the world and seem to be rescinded and back and forth on that, leaving a lot of uncertainty around businesses and industries, finances. Everyone is kind of shook up by the Trump administration. It is having a massive effect on the global economy, never mind just the UK economy. And it's a bit difficult how to respond to them, and I'm not quite sure the best way to do it is the best to avoid the United States of America from that perspective. But even many industries in the UK have still facing effects and are still suffering, all because of Brexit. Being not part of the European Union has come with costs. And even after all these years, and people can talk all you want about how not being in the EU is benefiting us, well, there's so many disadvantages to the tiny, tiny advantages that you can point out in your comment section down below. But we need to move a line closer to the European Union, and we have to protect not just the British glass industry, not just the steel industry, but as many industries as we possibly can. And this government needs to put its hand in its pockets. I just wish they would do the same for many other issues that are taking place in the UK. I really, really wish they would. So ministers must buy British-made goods. Overusing Chinese imports to prop up and the aligning heavy industry sector, business leaders have warned. In the wake of the decision to step in to save British steel, industry heads have urged ministers to place restrictions on Chinese imports and use British-made products in order to stave off the closure of key manufacturing sites. This is not going to happen for a few reasons. They're not going to restrict Chinese products. And the main reason why is because of, again, like I just literally mentioned, obviously, the Trump tariffs, what's happening with America and how they're treating their friends and allies. And even if we secured some kind of trade deal with America, it won't be within it won't really make really benefit us in the long term. In my view, it may help in some degree, but it's not going to help us achieve growth, which is something the Chancellor keeps banging on about. China is a market that Britain wants to work with, and yes, at the moment the relationship has taken a bump, shall we say, based off this, because the Chinese company that originally owned British Steel may or may not have allegedly been trying to shut down the industry, to shut down the steel factory in Scunthorpe. We don't know that. It's allegations. Allegations have been made about that, or skepticism about it. But we don't. But to imply that we're going to do some kind of imports on China and on Chinese imports and any sorts, I doubt that very, very much. I really doubt that very, very much. Especially when I hate to say that we need China, because at the moment, because there's this no obligation for us to move back into the European Union, because people are not ready to have that conversation, and we're not going to recoup the losses that we've had since we left the EU by America. So, and China's not going to recover that loss either, but it will help. But because obviously they're one of the biggest economies in the world, it will help. it will help our economy a long way if we do have a better relationship with China. Yes, I understand the human rights parts of China, and feel free to emphasize that in the comments. But I personally don't see this happening. And it comes as the Japanese owner of a specialist glass manufacturer, Nippon Electric Glass, which provides materials for wind turbines and electric vehicles. It's threatening to close their Wigan-based site unless it's able to find a suitable buyer, placing 250 jobs at risk. Especially when we're trying to be building wind turbines, electric vehicles, and going more green. That's not good. Dave Dalton, chief executive of British Glass, told the iPaper that if the government chose to source its glass fibre from the UK to meet its wind turbine targets, the firm would be kept at near capacity until 2050. We have a situation where the UK's last domestic producer of fibre in Wigan is at risk of being closure because its Japanese owner no longer sees it as viable, Mr. Dalton has said. But at the same time, the UK is importing similar materials from wind turbines from China. If the government were to impose restrictions on imports from China and source UK manufacturing fibre for wind turbines and electric vehicles, then the company might become more attractive to investors. Mr. Dalton said the glass manufacturing sector is facing the worst situation I've witnessed in 45 years of the industry. We will have the lowest output of glass for nearly 50 or 60 years, he said, adding that production has fallen off a cliff edge in the past year. Yeah, because it's cheaper to get it from China. This is the problem. He added, we are seeking talks with the Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds and the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, but we are in the queue. But we have already seen 5 furnaces out of 26 closed down, and another 8 line out of production out of 30 down. Heavy industries such as glass, paper, chemicals and cement have all come under severe pressure due to sky-high prices of energy and are now calling on ministers to act to prevent similar British Steel rescue acts from being necessities in the future. And this is despite growing calls from the government to divest from China. Reynolds said on Tuesday that he would entertain offers from other Chinese firms interested in becoming involved with British Steel. Speaking at immigration, where raw materials were docked to keep the Scunthorpe furnaces burning, Reynolds said that the government's decision to step in was because of one specific company. His comments were in contrast to those he made on Sunday when he said, I wouldn't personally bring a Chinese company into our steel sector. In March, British Steel Chinese owner Jinlai announced it would close its remaining furnaces at Scunthorpe, which would lead to job losses of 2,700. It came months after the closure of Tata Steel plant in Port Talbot, South Wales, with thousands of workers being made redundant. And since then, there have been fears that blast furnaces at Scunthorpe could be left to cool if Jinlai did not order enough supplies to keep them running. It could have led to the end of virgin steel making in the UK, with Scunthorpe responsible for producing steel for construction and the vast majority of the country's railway tracks. The government passed emergency powers in Parliament last week on Saturday to keep furnaces running, with Keir Starmer saying it was essential for the economy and national security. Reynolds added that there could be a different employment footprint at the steelworks in its long-term future. And he said, what we need for the long-term future of British Steel is that a private sector partner to work with us as a government on a transformation programme. This might be new technology, new facilities that might have different employment footprints. The staff have absolutely know that, and they know they need a long-term future. The industry minister, Sarah Jones, said our relationship with China is a pragmatic one. It's the second largest economy in the world, the fourth largest trading partner, and we have a trade with China that supports hundreds of thousands of jobs in this country. We want to make sure that we've got a vibrant industry sector here in the UK, and we want to make sure all the sectors that we're looking at through our industry strategy can thrive. And I hope so too. I want the industries to thrive. I want them all to thrive. But as you guys are fully aware, it's really rough out there right now for a lot of businesses. British businesses need to be protected. They really, really do need to be protected, because when some of them are gone, we won't have them back. And we really need to stop selling. We need to stop relying on foreign business owners controlling things in the UK. It's got to be. We need British owners to take control of them. That are in the interest of not just for them making money, but in the interest of these industries. It's easy to say to nationalise everything, but we can't nationalise everything. But we do need to have more reliable owners, and clearly, it does lead me to questions about the Japanese owners there. I mean, I don't know the difference between them and these Chinese owners, but obviously, as they said in this article, obviously there's not enough attraction to come to it, so why keep having it? And that's the problem. Then they try to look to sell it up, and they can't sell it up, and then they just make more redundancies and they shut down, and then that business is gone. That needs to change. The government needs to respond to this, and respond to this soon. But what do you guys make of the situation? What do you guys make of the British glass industry and these other industries that are in trouble? Let me know your thoughts on this and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative or helpful to you, hit that like button, share across social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and do check out the Patreon and Rumble for exclusive content on those platforms. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.